Hello and welcome to DCN Weekly, your regular roundup of Australia's shipping, ports and logistics news. This episode covers the week ending the 24th of October 2025. I'm Lindsay Reid, publisher at DCN. And I'm flying solo today as David is taking some well-earned rest after a solid week of roving reporting. David was covering the Safe Ships, Safe Ports Forum this week in Perth, which keeps getting bigger and better every year. This year it was held at the Optus Stadium and welcomed over 700 industry delegates from Australia and around the world. Topics covered were far and wide. Among the many speakers were WA Ports Minister Stephen Dawson, AMSA Chief Executive Kayleen Dale and Pilbara Ports CEO Sam McSkimming. Now, one of the standout speakers was the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore's Assistant Chief Executive, Ho Soon Tan. He called for closer global cooperation between ports on issues like cybersecurity and clean energy. He also spoke about the early progress of the green and digital shipping corridor between Australia and Singapore and highlighted Australia's potential as a key partner in developing and exporting green fuels. So our coverage of that presentation was up there in one of our most read articles this week. The conference itself ran over 2 days, and there's more on the other topics that were covered on our website. But congratulations to Pilbara Ports for putting the conference together. It was certainly no mean feat. Now, outside of the conference, a big story this week was the announcement that long-time National Secretary of the MUA, Paddy Crumlin, will retire in February 2026. And that's after more than 25 years at the helm. He will be succeeded by Assistant National Secretary Jake Field, marking what the union calls a generational change in its 153-year history. Okay, so Paddy Crumlin will stay on in senior advisory roles, while Jake Field said he'll continue the union's fight for Australian seafaring jobs, safe workplaces and strong, sustainable maritime industry. Now, unsurprisingly, this news sparked widespread comment across the industry. Mile CEO Angela Gillam praised his tireless advocacy for Australian seafarers and international maritime standards. Her former ANL CEO John Lynes highlighted his intellect and leadership, and Cube's Paul Digney noted his passionate commitment to the causes he believes in. Paddy's retirement certainly marks the end of an era on the Australian waterfront. Now, moving over the Tasman, Auckland-based Transam has acquired fellow New Zealand freight forwarder Davies International. The move combines expertise in air freight customs and end-to-end logistics. Now, Transam is the freight forwarding division of MPDL and says the acquisition will strengthen its network and expand supply chain options across the region while maintaining all of Davies' staff and day-to-day operations. They said there will be no change there. Davies MD Larry Davis described it as a natural next chapter with aligned values and complementary strengths, promising a stronger and more connected future for its customers. So back in Australia, the Port of Brisbane is breaking new ground with a research project exploring autonomous low-emission container transfers. So over the next year, the port's partnering with QUT and iMove Australia to develop a digital twin framework, which will test how autonomous vehicles could move containers safely and efficiently between terminals, depots and the Brisbane multimodal terminal. Now, the port's CEO, Neil Stevens, says the project is part of Vision 2060, the port's roadmap for handling future growth, decarbonising operations and keeping Queensland's trade running smoothly as container volumes rise. Now, finally, still in Queensland, a milestone for North Queensland grain industry. The Port of Townsville has shipped its first dry bulk chickpeas bound for India and Pakistan. The 38,500-tonne shipment, coordinated over 5 years by Chris Sizer and local growers, marks a new chapter for Pulse exports from the region. Port of Townsville GM Drew Penny says it highlights the port's capability and commitment to supporting growers, while Sizer noted it opens new options and efficiencies across the supply chain, backed by partners including Louis Dreyfus Company. Well, those were our most read stories this week, but there's plenty more on the DCN website. So do head over to thedcn.com.au and don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Newswire, which is free to subscribe to. The 2025 DCN Shipping and Maritime Industry Awards are also fast approaching. So we'd like to offer a huge congratulations to all of the finalists who were announced earlier this week. The nominations were outstanding this year, and some categories, like the Women in Shipping and Maritime Logistics, saw huge numbers of entries. So that one in particular was shortlisted to just the top 25. Loads of really impressive nominations there. Tables are still available, but not many. So do book your tickets soon if you are planning to book. The awards, as a reminder, are on the 20th of November in Sydney at the Shangri-La. Well, that's all from me this week. I'll be back next week with some friends next week, I think. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and we will catch you in a week's time.